What if I'm over here? Is it like all the way around?
I'm pretty
now?
sure it's completely
So everything.
Yeah. So if we go like,
it's like ASMR. We can do ASMR.
Oh, let's do it.
This is up close whispering for relaxation, and I'm here to stroke your brain. Let me in, and I'll never leave. That's what they like.
We went straight to like a very proud laugh. Met with "This deserves a beer."
Hello everyone, my name is Jack Howard and I'm here with Dominic Fera and we're doing a podcast.
Wow. Visual audio is what we call this. Oh God.
How are you?
I'm good, Jack. Thank you for doing this.
No problem at all, man.
I like talking with you. I like to watch you. Mostly when you don't know I'm watching. You should get that looked at, by the way.
What, you looking at me?
No, you know what I'm...
Oh.
The thing.
Yeah.
The tail.
You're obsessed with tails.
Tails are funny,
That's
dude.
where you go.
So, Jack, I wanted to talk to you. Mm-hmm. You have a problem. This is the forum to address it.
All of a sudden, all my friends just come out.
How did you get everyone here?
I can't believe that this was all set up to get me off heroin.
just to get you off. That's what I meant. I want to start it off. There's a lot we want to talk about, but mostly I want to talk about me. Tell me how we met.
It's a very romantic story.
It's incredibly romantic.
Yeah, we were 16.
Hold on. Stop.
And I was a fan of Dom. I didn't realize that we were the same age. I had no idea. I just knew you were making stuff like the Billy Goat Caller and things like that back then. And I started talking to Tim Kish before I spoke to you. I'm not sure how, but I added in on Skype.
I don't think I knew that. I didn't know that Tim was the entry point.
Yeah, because I
don't remember when we first words we said to each other. I don't really remember.
But Tim wasn't even the entry point.
Right, go ahead.
Tim's dad was the entry point. I added Tim on Skype and I was brave enough to be like, hey, and I got a response. But not from Tim. I think he assumed that we knew each other, but we didn't. We'd never spoken before.
Well, that was an interesting era. I have a lot of friends still from that era of internet friendships. Mm-hmm. Like, there's some people who have moved out here who I was talking to on Jason's the Film Cow forums, and like Knox's Corner, Robert's forum, and those. It's weird. You would never believe, if you told me then that these were people I was gonna know. Yeah. For 10, 11 more years.
Yeah, because we were just talking about this, the fact that, we were mentioning a night that we had in England.
Yes.
I thought it was a few years ago, but it turns out we were 19.
19. It was 7 years ago?
We're 26 now. And I was part of me was like, holy shit, time. And the other part was like, oh my God, we've known each other for so long. You're becoming an actual lifelong friend.
Yes.
That was cool. And the fact that we've known each other, what you were just saying about how, I would never have believed then that what happened now, because the fact that one of my best friends is Tim H on YouTube, lives down the road, and you guys hang out. I see him all the damn time. And the fact that last year we all bonded over Spider-Man, and last year we all saw Spider-Man Homecoming together, and I was sat between you holding your hand, what?
Wait, hold on, pick a different mime, because that was extremely special last year.
Yeah,
seeing
it was.
Spider-Man together for and we it was one of those ones where it was like, I don't blame Facebook, I don't know what you want to blame, but I feel like we're a generation aware that we are in a nostalgic time when we're in it.
Yeah. I'm gonna remember this. We ended up talking somehow. I think you commented on one of my videos. Which one was it?
It was Dean becomes a girl.
No, Dean gets a makeover. So yeah, you commented on that, and I called Dean. And I think he was brushing his teeth or something. He answered and I was like, dude, you're never going to guess who commented on the new video? And he was like, I don't know. And I was like, Dom fucking Fera. And he was like, fuck off. And then I was like, because this was the time when the channels just looked different.
Yeah, extremely.
You could just have your own design and stuff. And we had you could see who your subscribers were in one of the bottom corners. Uh-huh. And I went down and I saw it was top subscribers or something like that. I think they used to have a feature like that.
Interesting.
I was on the phone and I was just and he's fucking subscribed. I was I was so elated.
I have an experience a lot watching, you and the Olins of the world, and even Chris and Jack or whatever, where I'm like, damn, dude, they figured it out. And I in a lot of ways feel like I never really figured it out. I feel like
what do you mean by figure it out though?
Your stuff it's polished. You figured it out. You got yourself to a point. I think there was a focus to what you were doing, and whether you knew it or not, it's just by design. Jack and Dean being a a sketch comedy vehicle. You know what I mean? We didn't quite have. I never really had that. I was always a little all over the place, and I've been told this explicitly by professional, grown-up like executives. They're looking me in the eye and being like, "Dude, you got to do like a thing so people know what you're doing, like know what your channel is, blah blah blah." And I'm like, sick. So what you're saying is go from horror to animation with a big fart joke. I'm on it. So yeah, like the consequence of that is I have a little bit of a sporadic audience. Like, you know, some people are there for a certain thing, some people are there for another thing. And it's funny that like creatively I don't feel I like doing that. That's what I like. I like a lot of different things.
Yeah, being a bit sort of having an eclectic sort of like I've tried all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And that's sort of what I think a YouTube channel should be in a way is like this like patchwork. I'm trying a bunch of creative things, and I've not purposely but done that through the vehicle of Jack and Dean.
Right. But that's the you've given it the same like through line.
You sort of know what you're getting. Yeah. Whereas like with your stuff, I suppose that like sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's animation, all that sort of stuff. Whereas with Jack and Dean, I think that, like if you look at all the sketches, they can feel very different. Like one of them can be like anamorphic and filmed really cinematically, and then one of them can just be us in a living room, like filmed like on a zoom lens.
Totally.
And then, you know, another one could be in an office with like extras, and then another one will be just, again, us just on our own.
I've seen some people who've gotten into YouTube who were very clinical, or like they you know, there was a battle plan, and then they did it and they were good at it.
Yeah.
And they weren't even less creatively fulfilled. But I forever have been trying, like, what's the version of a thing I do consistently that is not, you know, crazy expensive? There's a through line. It doesn't trap me though. You know, it's Jack and Dean in a lot of ways. It's like the sketch channel thing where it can be whatever you want it to be as long as you guys are there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could literally next week you could go out and do a 3-part space adventure that's about Jack and Dean.
I think as well the thing is, especially with the Goblin, like, and I know you a couple of years ago when we made the Shredder, we do Jack and Dean sketches where the dynamic isn't massively dissimilar, but it's me and Dean don't know each other. So it's we're there and we're playing characters that I suppose that are like Jack and Dean, but because in many ways Dean's truest form is the Goblin.
That's not makeup. That's Dean how he looks all the other times.
Yeah, we have to do an
extensive prosthetics,
makeup job. Doing that has also been quite freeing as well, because I, at the end of last year, was starting to become a little bit sort of, I don't know, like frustrated with especially a couple of sketches one called Cup Phones and one called Handful, which were both sort of like pretty decent Jack and Dean sketches of us just doing our Jack and Dean thing. And in Cup Phones we don't know each other. He's an operator and I'm just a guy, and the dynamic's similar or whatever, but I don't know, there was something about it just being like static shots of us just talking to each other that just almost felt a little bit like, come on, I've moved past this. I don't want people to just be like stood in a place for a shot and then we cut to the other person just stood there for the shot. I want the sketch to feel like it's moving.
I've said this before, you guys are it's Looney Tunes. It's a cartoon where it's like they're there. Bugs Bunny can be, you know, in this episode he's an actor and Elmer Fudd has never seen him. He's like coming to review his show, like, you know, and you got that. I envy that a lot, especially I envy it especially because it happened organically. Because that was what you wanted to do.
That's
it came about, and
I was getting boxed in. I felt like I was getting sort of restricted by the format, and almost like it needed refreshing. So like doing the I Dare You video this year, which allowed us to do something more cinematic and just play with the idea that, because I wanted to just direct that, and so it was really nice to be able to just like put Dean as the main character and have him go off and do a whole thing and just almost like experiment. That was like a big experiment. And then doing the Goblin was like Monty Python. Like, let's like do characters and see if we can like play with that a bit more, because like just Jack and Dean being best friends who live together was almost like, I don't know, I was like, I've done this now, I want to do something else. But like, it doesn't mean they always have to be different. They sometimes can just be roommates. It depends what the idea is, but I think I wanted to allow myself to be a bit more free with that, whilst also it's still living in the Jack and Dean world.
And it doesn't feel weird either. That's what I like about what you're doing right now, is it weirdly, you know, you point it out and I see it, but when you post them it doesn't feel not Jack and Dean.
Well, I think a part of that is because the dynamic is very similar still. Even though Dean's in a Goblin,
it's the same.
He's still like inconveniencing me in some way. He's still a nuisance, but he's just, instead of doing weird Dean things, he's saying lips.
You're in an interesting position as well because you've now done the show. You've done 2 seasons of a Jack and Dean. Here is almost off of YouTube. You can almost be like, that's what is the polished actual Jack and Dean, because it's a show, because you did a show and that's who they are, and that's what this whole sketch thing is. But it's sort of like it's not, and I think we can use this as our chance to sort of come into this idea of like, there was a point where I still struggle with this, where we don't see YouTube as the goal. It's not the goal. Yeah. You don't want to. It's and not necessarily even in like a negative way, but it was always like, no,
we've done it for a long time.
We really have.
It's one of those things where it's like, have we come to the sort of the natural conclusion of that?
Here's what's interesting though too, is that we've done it for a really long time. And it feels that way to us. And there's a lot of like, you're saying, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to do that again. And no one knows that we've been doing this a long time. Like there's the audience who've maybe been there the whole time.
But that's rare.
It's rare. I still really only have a few people who every so often will pop up and say, I've been here since 2007. But mostly, like, if you look at the world, at large, the industry, whatever it is, they've never seen our shit.
People don't care.
They don't know. And so there's this, I feel like we have this resistance where we feel...
It's all weirdly just like, it's almost like this like weird, arrogant, like self-obsessed part of yourself that's just like, but people will know.
Exactly. And it's like a fear, honestly, because you're sort of like, shouldn't I be farther? It's been 12 years, whatever. Shouldn't I have started to do something bigger and crazier? But like, this YouTube, this internet making stuff for a digital audience or whatever has changed so much and so quickly and so like weirdly that it's we're kind of just started. It's just kind of now, this is what YouTube is now. This is where now we're going to see people really like launch out of it. And there's been, the Bo Burnhams and obviously Justin Bieber and Olin, has his show now.
Being able to just play around in that space and just be creatively free and just do what I want is really cool. But I have also been off the platform and I made the show, Jack and Trades. And that, I've described this before, as like, I feel like I went and had a meal, like a big Sunday roast. And then I've come back and I've started eating snacks again. Right. Like I've started eating biscuits and I've gone, this isn't hitting the spot. This isn't satisfying. There's something about going through writing, pre-production, production, and post-production. That process lasts a long time. Like I worked on season 2 of Jack and Dean Trades from August until February. Yeah. And that is a long time to be working on one singular goal. So when it finishes, I almost felt like I had nothing. I was like, what's next? I don't know where I'm going. And so you miss that process. And I really, really enjoy being around the people. I really, really enjoy the singular vision that everybody comes together for. Like, it's almost like it's not mine anymore.
Right.
It's like everybody is like working towards.
We've talked about that where you're doing your YouTube thing even like this right now. It's like when you're helping someone on YouTube, when you have even a crew on a YouTube thing, it still a little bit feels like everyone's coming to help for your thing. Yeah, that's sort of like the collab spirit. Is like, let's do this for you, man. Let's get this working for you. And there's on a show when it feels real, as we keep our ultimate craving. Our ultimate thing is like, I want it to feel like a real thing. Everyone kind of owns it a little bit.
I totally agree.
It might seem, if you have been here, if you have been watching either of us for a long time, you probably have this impression they're established, like they're doing it. They are in the moment of doing it. And we don't feel that way. At least I certainly don't.
No, I feel like I'm still.
I feel like I haven't begun. I haven't even gotten the first.
We're still like scrounging to be able to get the next thing. I'm still concerned about whether or not anyone else will ever want to work on a bigger project with me. I don't know if that's ever going to happen again.
Which is crazy. And the finish line, man, is moving every time because we think you get a show, and then of course that will bounce into another thing that's a little bit
I'm the evidence that that's not true. Even if you get a script written, given to somebody, and they like it, and they go, and they say to you, we're going to make this, it still doesn't mean it's going to get made. We know that we're in a privileged position still to be able to be making stuff at all, but like, it's still, I don't like it when people say, this is the phrase I hate, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
Bollocks.
Yeah, it's not true.
When it's your thing, there's this fear that comes with it of just, is this worth everyone's time? Like, am I going to spend money and time on this? Is anyone going to think this is good? Like, when it's someone else's idea, I almost feel like I'm more confident coming in and expressing how I think I can elevate it.
Totally. So actually, I wanted to go back a little bit, right?
Okay.
When you're coming up with stuff, and I've asked you
Please animate that.
It's a bunch of fish. When you're coming up with ideas, when something strikes you, you're out in the world, chopping down trees or whatever you do.
Yeah.
I don't know what you do. Yeah, in your time. Whatever. It's probably illegal. That's all I know. When you're coming up with an idea, do you immediately think of it as Jack and Dean, or do you make it Jack?
Right. It changes depending on the idea, because sometimes I'll think of an idea and it's very obviously a Jack and Dean sketch, and sometimes I feel like, am I fucking up this idea to make it a Jack and Dean idea? Especially when I've come up with series ideas or features. Sketch ideas usually sort of work because of the nature of sketches.
Right, it's just
but even then, we've come up with ideas and we've gone, is that a Jack and Dean sketch though? And lately we've been going why the fuck not?
We feel like we're further than maybe we are because we've been doing YouTube for 12 years. We're thinking, we're deep in the career. You know what I mean? We've been here, and we must never go back. Whereas meanwhile, you walk outside on the streets of Los Angeles and ask someone, hey, do you think I should try something different with my sketches?
So I really want to do a Goblin 2. But I want to strike while the iron is hot, but I also am worried that if I do it, it will not be as good as the first, or that that I'll be doing a disservice to it in some way. That I don't want to, I don't want to do The Incredibles 2 and just do the same thing again and not, hope that no one notices.
Yeah.
Take that, Brad Bird.
Yeah, mess him up.
Yeah, I hope he's. Is he a subscriber?
He's a huge fan.
Yeah.
This is gonna crush him. I think especially in my case, because the channel is weird and there's not a shape.
Yeah.
Arguably, a lot of those corners, a lot of those roads I've taken, I never. There's a couple I feel like I've done well, but maybe I could say most of them I never really polished and perfected because I was young.
But I genuinely think that's the best thing about YouTube, is it being a patchwork of just I'm playing around here.
Right, but doesn't help.
It doesn't help success on YouTube.
Right.
It depends what you want. It depends, do you want success on YouTube, or do you want to play around and figure out your creative voice and then take that forward and onto the next platform?
But it's hard because they need to be...
I'm trying to do both.
Yeah, I think that's the answer, though.
I genuinely, and it's a weird thing that no other filmmaker has to think about, but from my point of view, genuinely the reason why maybe somebody wouldn't click on one of your videos is because they don't see you in it.
It's because you're ugly and I don't like the way your face looks. That's a thing I've had to, very recently, I'm starting to be like, okay, people are responding to when I'm in them and when it's a little funnier and when blah, 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 blah. And it's there's not I have a resistance to feeling like I'm treading the same territory, but again, no one knows what I'm doing.
Genuinely, my only advice to anybody and to you is just make whatever the fuck you want to make, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it not working is making you upset, do something else, because clearly that's not right.
Thank you for hanging out with me.
No, man, it was good. It was nice to share a little video with you.
We talk all the damn time. It was about... We might as well turn something on
and stress us out
and lose it and have to do it again, and why not?
It's how I want to spend the last day in LA.
I can think of for the half-hour conversation that was supposed to happen at around 11 is 4 p.m.